the big question, the big name, the guy that we thought was going to be the number one overall pick in the draft at one point, but now won't be, Tua Tagovailoa. Where will he go? How far will he fall? And ultimately, which helmet will he be wearing when the time comes to wear helmets? There was a report yesterday, Chris, from Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald, that the Dolphins team physicians came away from the scouting combine in February convinced that Tua Tagovailoa was healthy and gave him a passing grade on his physical there. And, anytime I see this kind of stuff in advance of the draft, I wonder what's the angle, what's the agenda? Is this just part of a broader effort to put a little more pressure on the Bengals to want less in the event there's a potential for a trade from 5 to number 1 to get Joe Burrow, and the Dolphins are taking the position, hey, we don't need to do the trade, we'll just take Tua at 5. I don't know how you can be appropriately confident now as to what Tua's health is, regardless of what you saw or didn't see back in February. That's been the predominant theme. The doctors don't have the chance before the draft to see where he is after that fairly serious hip surgery. And I just see that as the Dolphins blowing smoke, right? As the Dolphins trying to make someone think they're going to take Tua when in reality that may not be what they're going to do.
Well, hey, listen, Mike, you know my thoughts. I think Tua is extremely risky, and there's no way I would touch him in the top 10. I'm going to say I look at it a different way here. And again, I've had some people within the NFL that I trust and have steered me in the right direction a lot of times. And I think, and again, Armando Salguero is very connected, and he's been right about a lot of Miami Dolphins things throughout the years. To me, Mike, I think it's almost the opposite. I think they're getting their Miami fan base, but they're just to wrap their head around that, hey, our doctor said he's okay, and we might make a play, and Tua might be our quarterback when all said and done. So they want that out there. There's a thought right out there in the NFL right now, Mike, that the Dolphins, they like Herbert, but they don't love him. They've always loved Tua. And I just, like I said yesterday, was told by some people that I trust that they're not so sure the Dolphins might not take past the quarterback at 5 or trade up to 3, like we're going to talk about in a minute, maybe with the Detroit Lions, and then either use all 3 first-round picks on guys to fill spots on the team, Mike, and then maybe trade into the 4th round. I mean, late into the first round with a 4th first-round pick and maybe go Jordan Love there, Mike. There's a common thought there, or maybe Jordan Love with their last pick in the first round. So I think this could go any which way right now. And the fact, that you're hearing that they might trade up to number 3, that to me tells me that it's not going to be Justin Herbert, and they might be looking at some other position.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was kind of the stunner yesterday. While we were all waiting for Stephen Ross, the owner of the team, to potentially make his move to try to get from 5 to number 1, out came this rumor, this report, this notion that the Dolphins may be trying to get to number 3 in a move with the Lions. And initially, as it was being explained, the Dolphins wanted to get the 3rd overall pick from the Lions without giving up the 5th overall pick. They wanted to use their 2 picks later in the round as the ammunition to acquire the 3rd overall pick from the Lions and then have 3 and 5. And wouldn't that be something if it happens? And I couldn't help but wonder, Chris, if the Dolphins could pull it off where they have number 3 and number 5, is that then the foundation for the offer the Bengals can't refuse for number 1? I still think Stephen Ross is scheming for a way to get to number 1. And if you can't get the Bengals' attention with the picks that you already have, if you can come to the table with 3 and 5 this year, plus maybe something else, maybe that's the way you get the Bengals to flinch on Burrow. Although at this point, I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I mean, I don't expect it to either. But, man, if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, and you have a good draft grade on a guy like Justin Herbert, where you think a lot of him as well, and you're getting offered a 3rd and a 5 and maybe something else to go along with it, another high round pick, whether that's this year's 2nd or maybe next year's 2nd. I don't know. Maybe they'd be crazy to throw in another 1st round pick. I don't know. That would be too rich for my blood. But that would be something else. And that would be something that if that did happen, I think Cincinnati would have to sit there and at least contemplate it, no matter how much you love Joe Burrow.
And this question of whether it will be Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa as the second quarterback off the board continues to be muddled and confusing. And that's the way the teams want it. Like you said, the Dolphins want us all to basically be prepared for anything. And maybe they do want their fan base to have the possibility in their brains, if they take Tua, that's the guy they're in a position where they should be expecting. But I feel like the Dolphins have done a great job of creating a sense that anything can happen. And as of yesterday, via the MGM Sports book, Justin Herbert was the betting favorite to be the second quarterback taken. And now, apparently based on bets that were placed on Tua, not based on any new information that Vegas may have, it's swung back to Tua being the favorite from a betting standpoint to be the second quarterback selected. And this is all about trying to get equal betting on each side, and you don't want it to be too skewed one way or the other. And if the bets are just flowing in on Tua, at some point you have to adjust the odds. Again, I don't know how much Vegas really knows about when Tua will go. But now, as of Thursday morning, Tua is favored to be the second quarterback taken. So you are sticking with your thought that he's slipping out of the top 10, regardless of whatever else may be happening.
Yes, I just have a hard time. I think the world of a guy like Brian Flores. I don't know Chris Greer down there as far as a GM, but the people that I do know that know him, man, I mean, these are smart individuals. They understand what it takes to build a football team. Flores coming from New England. New England typically did not take chances on guys with such an injury history like a guy like Tua. And I just think, when all said and done, it's just completely too risky. Yes, so I still think he gets outside of the top 10, and then when he hits that 10 mark, watch out. Then anything can happen. It's going to be open business time for trading up from somebody, whether that's the Miami Dolphins or somebody we don't know about, to make a move for Tua. I expect that to really be the case. If that doesn't happen, then I don't know. I am intrigued by the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins, from everybody I really trust, I know they love Tua. And I think they went into this process thinking they were going to draft Tua. And I don't know if the film made them pull away a little bit to where they were not as impressed as they thought they might be, or if it's just the injury issue, which I would imagine that is, because it's scary, Mike, as we've talked about many times. It's a lot of injuries. There's rumors that he might need more surgeries to clean up an ankle. And then I've told you about his style of play. It's a little backyard football at times, and he's not Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray. They're the fastest guys on their football team. Nowhere near that will be Tua's type speed, and he avoids danger narrowly so many times during the college football season that he's scary to me that way.
Yeah, and look, I think of a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who isn't the fastest guy on the team, but he's elusive. And I don't know if Tua is elusive enough at the next level. He wasn't. And you made the great point throughout this process that you see so many instances on film where Tua gets hit in a way that you think, oh, no, he's not going to get up. Well, at the NFL level, you're not going to get up if you take those awkward hits as often as you take them at the college level. For the Dolphins, it was tank for Tua all year long. And as it turns out, they ultimately didn't tank, but they still may have Tua. There's another angle to this, Chris, because Nick Saban, the Alabama coach, is going to say what he has to say to get Tua drafted as high as possible because he wants to be loyal to his guy and he wants to have good recruiting. And I've interviewed coaches in the past, and there's a balance the college coaches have to strike between having credibility with NFL coaches and taking care of their guys. But when you've got this weird kind of love triangle between Saban, Bill Belichick in New England, Brian Flores, who was with Belichick for all those years in New England and is now in the division and maybe circling the possibility of taking Tua, how do these relationships play out? What does Bill Belichick want? We always view him as this Jedi master who can work things to his advantage, and whether it's keeping Josh McDaniels around maybe for another year based upon who gets recommended for the Giants job, Joe Judge, not Josh McDaniels, that kind of thing. What is really going on behind the curtain as it relates to what Nick Saban is or isn't saying to Brian Flores, and what does Belichick want him to say or not say? Does Belichick want Flores to roll the dice on Tua because he thinks maybe Tua won't be that good? Or is he trying to come up with a way to get Flores to stay away from Tua? And look, we know that Belichick operates on those levels so much deeper than what is meeting the eye because that's the way the guy's always operated, and it's worked to his advantage.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bill, yes. I mean, you're right. Bill's a mastermind. He's the Wolf of Wall Street if he's working on Wall Street. That's who he is. He's the man. You're not going to outthink Bill, and I know that even the coaches on the staff in New England, I mean, that was one of the first things they kind of said to me, like, nobody outthinks Bill. I mean, and when they said it, I was like, damn, really? I mean, Bill's that smart. And, you get to be around him and you're like, yeah, he's that damn smart. There's no doubt about it. Now, I don't think an organization like New England would be into a guy like Tua. Traditionally, Bill Belichick has been into the traditional big pocket passing type quarterback, whether that was when he was a defensive coordinator with my dad and it was Phil Simms as the quarterback. He brought Vinny Testaverde as his quarterback into Cleveland. Vinny was the quarterback with Bill Parcells as the head coach, and he was the D coordinator with the Jets. Of course, there's Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady. This guy drafted Ryan Mallett, Rohan Davey, guys that really couldn't hit the broadside of the barn, but they were big and strong. And he thought, ooh, maybe if I can get them accurate, I can make them into something. So I just don't see Tua being his type of tea, his cup of tea there, Mike. Now, can I just say one more thing? Because I know it's a long answer. But with like the Alabama triangle, like you're talking about, I do think that comes into play right now with that pick number 3 that we're hearing that Miami might trade up to get number 3 with the Detroit Lions, because I would think Joe Judge of the New York Giants, who coached at Alabama at one point, might be sitting there going, I want Jedrick Wills, that right tackle. And I think Miami, who has a desperate need of tackle too, they also are going to go, yeah, I like Nick Saban's tackles and the way he coaches his offensive line too, and I'm sure they have some knowledge about it. And they're worried that Gettleman and Judge are going to take the tackle they want at number 4, and I would imagine that's the reason they want to get up to number 3 right now.
Well, an intriguing process at the top of the draft, and we really don't know how it's going to play out, other than number 1, Joe Burrow, number 2, Chase Young. After that, who knows how it's going to transpire. And let's look at the bottom of the round. You and I both have mock drafts out there, and we don't have Jordan Love, the quarterback from Utah State, being selected. Now, mine specifically excluded any trades. I still think there's a chance somebody pops back into the bottom of round 1 to get Jordan Love. That pick 32, it was the Teddy Bridgewater spot. It was the Lamar Jackson spot. It gives you 5 years of contractual control with a quarterback, which is beneficial, especially if there's a chance he's going to sit on the bench behind somebody else for a year or 2. Then you have him a little bit longer. Do you think there's a chance somebody springboards back into the bottom of round 1 to get Jordan Love?
I do. I mean, that was one of the things I struggled with in my mock draft. I mean, I do think there's some legitimate interest for Jordan Love. I think there's a number of teams really from 18 to 32, somewhere in the teens that, that are dangling the idea of maybe we should make a play for Jordan Love. But ultimately, I just came to the conclusion that, yes, if he does go in the first round, I think it's going to be kind of what you said, Mike. It's going to be one of those scenarios. Maybe Miami comes away with nothing, no quarterbacks in the first round. And like I said, then they start to trade up. They have all these assets and the rest of these draft picks to maybe get back into the first round for a 4th time and take Jordan Love there. Do the Indianapolis Colts get involved in this type of conversation? Are the Oakland Raiders going to be in the conversation for Jordan Love, and maybe make a play that way? Of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they could be in that conversation. It's just so many ways. But, when it came to my own mock, Mike, Jordan Love he's a true project that way. He needs a year. He might need 2 years. He's really raw mentally and physically. But, man, his good is really good. And I think that's what teams see. And he's another one of these, I don't know what the hell happens with him tonight. And it's going to be intriguing to see.
You mentioned the Colts. Their first-round pick is the property of the 49ers because of the DeForest Buckner trade, but they could swoop back into round 1 with their second-round pick, and they are a team that is clearly looking for a project type of a quarterback. Phillip Rivers is the guy this year. They went Rivers over Tom Brady in part because Brady wants more than 1 year. With Rivers, they got a 1-year deal, and from their perspective, it is a 1-year arrangement, and they're going to go with somebody else in 2021. So you either draft someone in 2021 or you draft someone now, and maybe Love is the guy that Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, decides he needs to have. Another element that will play out as round 1 unfolds tonight.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.